Hi, welcome to another Fajardo Friday Life lesson. So you see this little Rubik's Cube here? I did a thing. That's a term that I think a lot of people hear, right? I did a thing. I want you to keep that in mind as part of this lesson. But this little Rubik's Cube was such a huge change in my life. It did so much for me. And I'm kind of hoping that the same kind of lesson can be done by the time this is all over. But let me start with how this all came about. My professor, years ago when I took this leadership class, had a discussion about what made a leader and the different types of leaders. And usually leaders are people who have followers. That's what makes them a leader. Well, in the discussion, I created some controversy because I'd written a paper about how you could be what I called a self-proclaimed leader. In other words, you didn't really have followers, you just had yourself. You led yourself. And people were disagreeing with me on it. And so I kind of gave the example of, well, you've heard that cliche. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Okay, well, who's going to make the whole idea when you say that cliche is that the person, usually it's a person, right? So the person has to make the decision for themselves to actually drink the water. In other words, they become their own leader. They can be led to water, but I have to lead myself to drink the water. Hence the self-proclaimed leader. And at the end of that conversation, uh, it was interesting because people were like, why did you even come up with this idea? And I said, well, actually, when I was a little kid and growing up, I heard this word, can't. I heard that a lot growing up from all kinds of people. And I can't do this. It's not possible. I don't have the ability to do it. When I wanted to become a teacher, I heard that a lot. You can't become a teacher. You're not good enough to become a teacher. It's not, you don't have the skills and ability to be a teacher. You can't teach. I'm going into my 18th year of teaching, so, but that is all part of what I had talked about when it came to being a self-proclaimed leader, because when you don't have people leading you, when you only have yourself, then of course you're your own leader because you have to guide yourself. So at the end of the conversation, interestingly, the professor gave us a semester project. It was called the semester goal. And the idea was you can pick whatever you want to learn. It has to be a task that you have never done before. And it can be a simple task, it can be a complex task. The idea is that you would learn it by the end of the semester. And I decided I was going to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube. And I'd seen my friend do this before. Shout out to you, friend. Thank you very much. And I asked her if she would be willing to teach me how to solve the Rubik's Cube. And people were like, well, wait. Doesn't that make her the leader then? And you're the follower? Keep in mind, I am the one who asked her to teach me. I took that initiative. And then when she was teaching me, I had to be the one to guide her in teaching me, because if I didn't understand something or I needed her to stop, I needed her to go back, I had to be the one guiding her in guiding me. So there is an element of leadership that has to take place. Even as, leaders can also be followers. Okay, there has to be a little bit of that push and pull there. So by the end of the semester, I learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube, and it was one of the best experiences I had had in my life. I mean, now I know it's as simple as a Rubik's Cube, but I have applied it in so many different areas and challenges in my life. From that one experience, I felt more confident, empowered. I felt like I could, take steps out of my comfort zone. I even like interpersonal communication, intrapersonal communication, lots of things that I gained from this experience, and I liked it so much that I carried it years later, and I still do these little semester goals, if you will, and in other projects. In other words, it has made me feel a little bit more bold in choosing to do things that I haven't done before. And just as an example, to learn new things, I learned how to crochet and I learned how to make these hot pads. I made sets for my friends and family as part of the whole process, and it was a wonderful experience there too. And from that, I learned basic skills, and now I can use those same skills to make other things. And yes, it was craft, but it could be anything. I have learned how to do things like, cooking various things, making things, actually going and experiencing things in terms of like traveling, all that kind of stuff. I felt so much more confident in my own capabilities doing these kinds of challenges that I actually a few years ago, I did one challenge that really stepped out of my comfort zone. I made the decision to do a photography show. I love taking pictures, But you're putting yourself out there when you have to show your photography to people because you don't know if it's any good. And I still don't feel like it's any good. I'm going to show you this example just so that you know I'm real about this. So this was one of the pieces that I had on display for the show. And I am so excited that I did this because I learned so much about how to do a photography show. And the feeling of accomplishment was phenomenal. And I was so excited by the results of these kinds of experiences that I decided to try it out with my students and give them an opportunity for the experience. I haven't been able to do it every year because time has become something that's very difficult for teachers to have. But when I was able to do this, the changes that I saw, the changes in attitude, the changes in how you view things in life, it's very, very wonderful what these students gained from that experience. I had one girl, she decided she wanted to learn how to do the splits, and she had accomplished that goal. Now, it was something where she learned how to do the splits and then she still had time left. So she made the personal decision to take it a step further. So she would like stack books and then like split even more. But to think of that, she could have stopped and then she chose to go even further in that goal. I had another girl who she was going to take her leg and put it up behind her back, and she was going to hold it up in this like ballet-like position. And during the semester, though, she had had a horrible foot leg accident, and she said that it was a horrible setback for her, and she struggled, and she wanted to do this goal, but she didn't know if she was going to make it, and to watch her continue through and make the decision to actually keep going and to succeed in the end. And not all of my students met their goal, but in the end, they had gained something out of it in terms of their own personality and experiences. And that's the same thing that I want to do with other people too. Is it possible that when we do these semester goals, whatever they may be, that it can have such a life-changing event? It has changed me so much in the way that I do things. And I can see that the growth in my students when I had done this kind of challenge with them. So I'm throwing it out there now. I'm going to call it the I Did a Thing challenge. And it's getting to be New Year's, and I want to give people enough time to kind of think about what they would do for their I Did a Thing challenge and see what happens. I want to see, is it a fluke? The things that I experienced with doing these little challenges, are my students just anomalies? I don't believe so. I don't believe that that's true. I believe that if people did these semester goals, and the other students, when I was in college, I was in a class with other students who did these semester goals. And it's not like, I was the only one who had this life-changing experience. I promise you, doing something like this, whether it be simple or complex, it's your decision because you know your own abilities. And it's something that I want to see experienced in life, the change. So, yeah, I encourage you to do the I Did a Thing challenge because the lesson for me as an adult has been a wonderful life changing experience. So, I hope you take it to heart. Thanks for listening.